Welcome to Let's Have Some Beer News with your anchors, Bill Otter and Hap Lupulin. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Let's Have Some Beer News. I'm Hap Lupulin.
And I'm Bill Otter.
And today we're going to cover our year in review. But first, let's start with the national news.
So I think right now some of the biggest news nationally is New Belgium is sold to Lion Group, which is basically a subsidiary of Kirin. That's right, the giant Japanese beer group bought New Belgium, which I don't think anyone saw that one coming. I definitely didn't, and a lot of people have some very fiery opinions about that.
Yes, definitely look on social media. There's been lots of backlash about it. I think one of the major reasons is New Belgium's been known to be one of those juggernauts in the craft beer industry that's really fighting against corporate beer. So the fact that they kind of sold and it came out of left field, I think, was a real surprise.
Yeah, not only that, for those of you who don't know, New Belgium, besides being one of the first big craft beer groups out there, kind of much like Stone, they're also employee-owned. So that's really weird how this is working out. How can you be employee-owned, but also owned by Kirin? Yeah, I don't know about that.
Nope. But time will tell. We'll see how this changes. Now, in other news, Ballast Point, a brewery who sold to corporate America back in 2016 to Constellation Brands
for no small amount of $1 billion.
$1 billion. So Ballast Point sold to a small brewery called Kings and Convicts, and rumor on the street is it's for a very small amount.
Definitely not another billion.
Yes, not another billion, which puts Ballast Point in really hot water. The question is what does that mean for Ballast Point? Will they continue? Will this Kings and Convicts brewery continue to produce that brand, or are they simply going to absorb them? Well, one thing that I do know is that one of the owners actually is a serial entrepreneur. He owns multiple businesses and properties, which means he's there for the cash grab, and there's got to be something involved with him getting that money back. So I'm not quite sure what's going to happen, but I'm really interested to see if that famous Ballast Point Sculpin IPA will remain on grocery store shelves very long.
And lastly, this hits us really close to home, but the brewery Barley Forge down in Costa Mesa has filed for bankruptcy and is going to be auctioning off their brewery, which a lot of mixed feelings about this one. There's definitely some rocky things going on before they filed, and just overall though, they're a really big staple in Orange County, so it's just a huge, strange shift in the local beer community, I think.
With the growth of craft beer over the last few years, we have been seeing more brewery closures. However, you'd never expect that it's going to be one of the guys who have been around for a really long time. Now, what is their fate? We don't know yet, actually. Today is December 10th, and they are supposed to announce who owned the auction or who won the auction tomorrow. But a little green birdie told me that it might be a local brewery who's going to be swooping them up and expanding their brew house. So we don't know for sure. It's just a rumor, but I'm sure we'll find out soon enough. Now that we've covered your news, it's time to go over our 2019 year in review. So Bill, we had a wonderful year of amazing craft beer events. Would you like to highlight a couple that were some of your favorites?
Oh man. So, several months back we were actually invited over to Beer Zombies Beer Fest over in Vegas. That was my first real Beer Zombies event. It was also my first time actually meeting him, and also my first time being back in Vegas as an adult, so it was a lot of Really interesting things, and just the whole atmosphere, just meeting people that I didn't expect to recognize there at that fest as well, especially, all the way in Vegas. Not that it's super far, but it's far enough. That was a really big beer highlight for me. Not only were we trying some amazing beers, just one after another, the whole event just was a great time, and definitely probably one of my top beer events of the whole year.
It was a blast. I actually had quite a few this year. That was on the list. I assume that Jacob might have mentioned it. Another one for me specifically was my very first time trying Pliny the Younger.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
I had heard the hype. I had never done the camp out. I had never made it to a brewery that was serving Younger, and I finally did it this year. Not only that, but I camped out at 3 a.m. to make sure I was the very first one in line. And it was a wonderful experience. It was a fantastic beer. And I look forward to doing it again next year, hopefully at the brewery itself at Russian River. So looking forward to that. One of the other events of 2019 I'd like to highlight is the California Craft Brewers Association Summit that we went to over the summer. That was incredible. It was a wonderful experience. I got to meet some of my heroes in the craft beer industry. I had some of the best beers I've had all year right there on the expo floor. Made a bunch of new friends as well, and have memories that'll last a lifetime, especially at the festival when it was 100 friggin' degrees. It was brutal, but awesomely brutal. Finally, I do want to touch on a trip that I took recently. I took a trip to Europe with my friend David. We got to visit Brussels, and in Brussels we went to Cantillon. In Bruges, we went to Half Moon Brewery, and we also went to Amsterdam, where we went to Brouwerij Ei, and I recorded episodes of those, so you're gonna get to see them in the future. So you'll get to see some of the amazing times that I had while I was there. I can't wait to share them with you guys. But now we're gonna move on to our favorite beers of 2019.
Oof, yeah. See, now I'm gonna cheat a little bit. I have some that maybe weren't made necessarily in 2019, but were made more widely available or easier for me to get. And I gotta give a shout out to Gunwale for making Bank Straw in cans, and just their new brewery out in Orange. Having it there just in their fridge all the time makes it easy for me to just pick up, and that was delightful. So much so that I'm still thinking about it, and months after I picked up that, that's gonna be all next summer. It's just gonna be Bank Straw.
Just banging straws.
Just
man.
banging straws.
Do you have anything else on your list?
I do. I actually have been really enjoying Any Day Now from Brewery X is their slow pour pills that you can get regularly. So for me, availability has been the name of the game this year. I've had a lot of harder to get beers that have been great, but this year I was just so lazy that it's a beer that I can have just time after time after time, and it's amazing. That's what highlighted it for me this year.
I would say that I mellowed out a little bit too on the craft beer FOMO scale, but then I say that, I open my fridge, it's filled with beer, so
yeah.
I mean, who really knows? But I will tell you that I had 3 very strong standouts this year. One was Double Goldbird from Green Cheek Brewing out here in Anaheim. It was a double dry hop, double hazy. You know, we have so many hazy beers out here now. I mean, the market's just saturated with them. That was one that tasted incredible fresh, tasted incredible a month later, tasted incredible 3 months later. It was unique, it was flavorful, it was tropical. You know, it just stood out to me above the rest when it comes to the hazy beers. Now, one that was a big surprise for me and has kind of changed my palate a little bit this year is Timbo Pils from Highland Park Brewing. That is a dry hop pilsner made with Citra and Mosaic, and I had my first taste at a bottle share, and it blew my mind. It is probably the best pilsner I've ever had. It's one of the best, if not the best execution of mosaic hops I've ever had in a beer. And when they released it again later this year, I wasn't able to make it, but I made sure I had a friend pick me up a bunch of it. And I had 2 4-packs sitting in my fridge. They lasted 3 days. So that just tells you how good it was. It went down smooth. It was incredible. Finally, the last beer is one that I had in Belgium. It's from a super hype brewery. It's called Frambois Lambic. It's from Brewery de Cam, and I had it in a Trappist craft beer bar. It was super expensive. The bartender was blowing his mind that I would order the bottle. We ended up sharing it with a chocolatier, the bartender. It was a very special moment. And for someone who doesn't like sours, that was the funkiest damn beer I've ever had. And I couldn't stop thinking how much Jacob would have loved it. And I know it's impossible to get my hands on it and bring it home, but the memory will stay with me forever.
So with that, I'd love to ask our audience, what was your best beer of the year, or best top 3? I definitely was kind of all over the place, and I definitely have been more into cocktails and liquor this year. So I'm really curious to see, what were your best craft beers this year? Tell me, I want to hear them.
If you enjoyed this episode, please give us a thumbs up, share with your friends, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. We really appreciate the support. And now, signing off, I'm Hap Lupulin.
And I'm Ben Otter.
And we'll see you again on Let's Have Some Beer News. In this special holiday episode, we are celebrating Christmas time at the OC Brew Ho Ho. There are tons of our favorite SoCal breweries here serving up some amazing holiday beers.